twinkle star, how
Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome once again to this wonderful experiential and learning evening. As always, let us seek the blessings of God and our motherland before we start today's program. Request all of you to rise and stay muted. In case you
जी
are not
आपका
able to
एको आ
stand
रहा
up,
है आपका एको आ रहा है
Your mobile is also on. I think you are two devices you are using. Probably. क्या बात है? Maybe some mic
good evening,
problem.
everyone. A warm welcome to this wonderful experiential and learning evening. As always, let us seek the blessings of our God and our motherland before we start this session. I would request all of you to mute yourselves, and in case you are not able to rise for the blessing and the prayers, kindly keep your camera switched off. Thank you.
Very good.
कल कल निनाद करले कोटि कोटि भुजै धृत खर खर वाले अबला केनु मारत बोले बहुबल धारिणी नमामि तारिणी विपुदल वारिणी मातरम वन्दे मातरम तुम्ही विद्या तुम्ही धर्म तुम्ही रिधी तुम्ही मर्मा त्वं हि प्राणाः शरीरे बाहुते तुम्ही मा शक्ति हृदये तुम्ही मा भक्ति तुम्हारी प्रतिमा गढ़ी मंदिरे मंदिरे वन्दे मातरम् त्वं हि दुर्गा दश प्रहरणधारिणी कमला कमलदल विहारिणी वाणी विद्यादायिनी नमामि त्वां नमामि कमला ममला अतुला सुजला सुफलां मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् श्यामलां सरलां सुस्मितां भूषितां धरणीं भरणीं मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम्
भारत माता की जय।
Let us open this evening session with one of the participants of the DDMT program, Batch 1, Mr. Suresh Ramaratnam, to share his insights from the program. But before that, let me introduce him to you. Mr. Suresh Ramaratnam has 34 years of rich experience in sales, marketing, and training. During his tenure for close to 12 years, he headed the training division of Wellness SBU of a leading herbal healthcare company. Mr. Suresh is a National Council member of Indian Society of Training and Development ISTD, a member of International Association for Transactional Analysis, and also a member of the International Coach Federation ICF Chennai chapter. Mr. Suresh is a certified national trainer from JCI University, USA, certified JCI author, coach from CLI Canada, and is certified from IIT Mumbai on the organizational development and changes in the 21st century. Mr. Suresh is also a master practitioner of NFNLP USA. Currently, Mr. Suresh runs his own organization, Winspire Associates. and involves in the organizational development consultancy and educational consultancy. Over to Mr. Suresh Ramaratnan to listen to his impact statement.
Thank you very much, Lakshmi, for the wonderful introduction. And let me extend my warm wishes for a happy Valentine's Day to everyone who are present here. When I say Valentine, it is not just about the lovers. It is about the love of a parent to his kids, the love of a teacher to his students, the love for the country, the love for nature, and everything that's connected with love. So that is what I would like to express about let love spread throughout the universe. And what is the connection between DMT and this? Because it is a love for learning and a passion for excellence. That is what has made many of us join this particular DMT. As introduced, I've served as a head of the training of one of the leading FMCG company in its strategic business unit on wellness. I've been a certified national trainer and a member of ISTD. And I have done a lot of certification courses. During this COVID, I happened to attend a lot of online courses, and that is exactly my acquaintance with Mr. Arun started. I was very impressed with the rich content, the excellent delivery, and the way he clarified all the doubts of the participant, which made me to hook to his all the further training. In fact, I attended several of his paid programs like value proposition, employee engagement, and other aspects. But when it came to Diploma D Master Trainer, initially I was thinking already I've done a certification on Train the Trainer and I'm a certified author. I have done my course on design thinking. Should I join this? But then I choose to join. I wanted to grab the opportunity. I don't want to be left behind because I know this master trainer has many magics in his hands. And what a course it is. I don't see any Train the Trainer program which has been conducted for 5.5 months. And that's exactly what you would be enriching and having an experience when you join this particular course. 240 hours of training, learning. Besides that, there is a community through which you will practice these learning, which is making it out very ideal. I initially was thinking, okay, I know many things about training, but on the very first day, I had the googly. When Mr. Arun asked, do you know the 17 questions you need to ask yourself before you conceptualize a training program? I was shocked. I was not knowing that these are the things that's available. Then he also added another bouncer when he said, there are 6 validation questions also you need to make it out. Then I thought, oh, this course has got something which I'm glad that I joined and I would not miss it. And if you look into it in this 5.5 months of journey, this cognitive science expert gave a lot of surprises to an experienced trainer like me. What are they? He talked about 12 archetypes. He talked about how to identify complexities. And he talked about how to look at counterfactuals and counter it effectively and clear the muddled water, unfold the touch points effectively so that your training becomes very interesting, how to build a pyramid of insights, how to go about the transition strategy, how to address the distractions, whether it's psychological or physiological or online distractions, which are very common. I know that today, many people conduct online trainings, but most of the times when it is boring, people close their videos and they may continue something. And that will not happen because Mr. Arun practices implicit learning technology. If you want to know more about implicit learning, definitely you should make it. If you are a teacher, If you are a trainer, budding trainer, you want to become a master class trainer, I would strongly recommend this course for you. If Mr. Arun, as a cognitive science expert and a master trainer and mentor, has given this, another master trainer, Mr. Vaidishwaran Vedagiri, touched on several aspects like how to do a script writing, how to write facilitator guide, how to look at the color combination of your PPT, and how to ensure the lighting of your background is becoming attractive so that you are able to keep your audience intact. What is the marketing tools was touched upon, social marketing, how digital marketing need to be there, how to write a proposal. So I can say the depth of the content, the things which is concerned is very, very immense. What I would like to say is intelligent people grab the right opportunity and make the right decision, decide that they have to move forward, act by making the right thoughts and moves and fulfill their aspirations. So apply your mind, look at what the points I've touched upon. If you find that these are something which you need to learn to become a master trainer, then join the band of people who are already on the process of becoming master trainer. Reap the benefit because opportunities comes once in a while. There are two ways to make it. You choose to join or you say, yes, knocking the door is a disturbance. Choice is yours. Choose it wisely, enrich yourself, pay now your thoughts and apply now your thinking hat and take the wise decision. Thank you very much. Good day.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh Ramarathan. That was really something that I'm sure all of us echo with. Thank you. Moving on. According to HBR, they say ideas are the currency of the 21st century, and the ability to persuade and the art of persuasion is no longer a soft skill. Now it is a fundamental skill. With that, let me introduce you to one of the few treasured professionals of DDMT platform, Ms. Nisrin Gandhi. She reflects fortitude as a trainer par excellence. Her credentials are a Bachelor in Arts as well as Education. She has postgraduated in Education, Sociology, and English. Also, she holds a postgraduate diploma in Integrated Counseling and is a certified IEMT practitioner. Ms. Nisrin is a language mindfulness coach who trains how to use language and mindfulness in order to impact mindset changes. An avid reader, she explores varied ways to enable harmonious living. For the past 2 decades, she has been involved in teaching profession as a teacher, coach, and counselor to bring in a new dimension to the mindfulness facet. Today is the day when we will learn a bit more, enrich a little deeper, and get persuaded a bit. Virtual platform is all yours, Ms. Gandhi.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lakshmi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A happy Valentine's Day to you.
Happy Valentine. Thank
And
you.
thank you for
Thank you.
thank you for your time and presence here on this platform today for the presentation.
Mhm.
Nisrin ma'am, would you require some help?
Yeah, just a minute.
You
I'm
can
just
stop. You can stop share again, reshare.
Ma'am, you can type or you can select that. Yeah.
as rightly said by Ms. Lakshmi Ved, ideas are the currency of the 21st century. Words and ideas, just a minute. Words and ideas have created this modern world, and these have the potential to make you a star in your field of influence if you can use them to persuade someone else to act on them. The ability to persuade, to change hearts and minds is perhaps the single greatest skill that can give you an impactful edge in the knowledge economy. An age where ideas matter more than ever. Many great communicators have used this skill throughout the ages to deliver some of the most influential speeches, presentations, and to share their reality or ideas with the world. I would like you to ponder upon this. Coming up with a creative idea may be easy, but is selling them to strangers easy or difficult? Let us find out by going through these following cases. This is Mithilesh Kumar Srivastav, popularly known as Mr. Natwarlal, considered to be the greatest con man in the Indian history. In India, conmen who pull off particularly smart cons are often called Natwarlal. And many Indian fraudsters say they were inspired by his career. Mithilesh first discovered his ability to forge after a neighbor sent him to deposit his bank drafts. Realizing he could easily forge his neighbor's signature, he managed to withdraw 1,000 rupees from his neighbor's account, and before he could get caught, he fled from there. As Natwarlal's father was a station master, he knew quite a bit about the railway freight industry in India. His Bachelor of Commerce degree and his stint as a stockbroker gave him some knowledge of banking rules. Combined with his ability to forge documents and signatures, all of this helped him successfully to pull off the cons. Natwarlal is said to have duped hundreds of shop owners, jewelers, bankers, and foreigners of lakhs of rupees, using more than 50 aliases to disguise himself. He often used novel ideas to cheat people. Sometimes he would pose as a social worker or a needy person, and at other times he would pose as a business manager or a purchasing officer. He often paid his victims with fake checks and demand drafts. In the 1950s, he swindled the Punjab National Bank out of 6.5 lakhs of rupees in a scam involving rail freight and bags of rice. Being proficient in forging signatures of famous personalities, he is said to have supposedly cheated a number of industrialists, including the Tatas, the Birlas, and Dhirubhai Ambani, taking from them large sums of money. Posing as a government official, he duped foreign tourists by selling to them famous Indian monuments. He is known to have repeatedly sold the Taj Mahal, Red Fort, and even the Rashtrapati Bhavan. A legend states that Natwarlal sold the Parliament House to a foreigner, and included in the purchase were the 545 members of the Parliament themselves. There have been conmen, cheats, card sharps, and crooks. But when it comes to deception and trickery, few can match the style of international conmen, Victor Lustig, the king of conmen, with 45 known aliases and nearly 50 arrests in the United States alone. Born in 1890 in Czechoslovakia, though a brilliant child, he turned to a life of crime, excelling in gambling, card games, and scams. Lustig became a riverside gambler, plying the various cruise boats that invariably consisted of the rich and the famous. During this time, he met a number of experts. Under their tutelage, he fine-tuned his skills. It was in 1922 that Lustig landed in Missouri, USA, and leased a farmhouse, which a Missouri bank had reclaimed from its owner for failing to pay back the debts to the bank. He disguised himself as a rich count and approached the bank with a riches to rags story and how he wanted to settle down and work on a farm. Lustig offered $22,000 in bonds to the bank and also convinced the bank to exchange an additional $10,000 of bonds for cash. The bankers gladly obliged. Lustig switched the envelopes and made off with both the bonds and the cash. The private detective hired by the bank traced him to New York City, but Lustig convinced them that if they pressed charges, the negative publicity would cause a furore. And to top it all, he insisted that the bank give him $1,000 for the inconvenience that the arrest had caused him, and then coolly walked away with the loot. In Canada, he conned another banker into placing bets on surefire wins in horse racing. Having won over the banker's confidence with a few such wins, he pressed the banker to make a large bet. You all must be knowing by now what happened. Naturally, he walked away with the money. The scam that really took the cake was the selling of the Eiffel Tower. The French government was at that time trying to get Eiffel Tower repaired. Newspapers covering it also mentioned in passing that the cost of the repair was more than the cost of tearing down the tower. Lustig immediately hit upon a terrific scam. He sent letters to various scrap iron dealers inviting them to discuss the government contract, announcing that the Eiffel Tower was being scrapped, as in the last 35 years the steel had rusted. He invited them to submit tenders and bids, and also played up on the secrecy part, as it could raise a public hue and cry. The victim was a Frenchman who he had carefully selected and who was willing to gladly offer him the bribe to acquire the tender and also the tender money for the sale of the Eiffel Tower. Dear friends, he sold the Eiffel Tower at the whopping amount of 100,000 francs. But the Frenchman, either due to embarrassment or shame, never reported the crime. And Lustig again came to Paris and sold the Eiffel Tower to another gullible dealer yet again. He kept escaping the numerous attempts at arrest and imprisonment, just like Natwarlal. Many were the scams Lustig attempted, like the money-making machine, in which one enters a real note and it duplicates itself. It was in 1934 that the FBI finally caught Lustig with thousands of counterfeit money. He died of pneumonia during imprisonment in 1947. This is an American physicist, inventor, and patent attorney, Chester Floyd Carlson. While working as a patent clerk, Carlson often thought of how convenient it would be to have easily made copies to patent specifications. His job required the preparation of multiple copies for submission to the United States Patent Office, and making copies often took many tedious hours for Carlson to draw and retype the documents. Photostats, an available alternative, was too costly and expensive to operate. Carlson believed there could be a better way. He knew there had to be a quicker method, and with time, he would find it. He had also come to know that research and development laboratories of many companies were already working on chemical and thermal means of copying papers. Months of research at the New York Public Library led him to think about photoconductivity, a process by which light can increase the electric conductivity of certain kind of materials under certain conditions. And this is the first print that he got after various attempts. Carlson patented his developments every step along the way. He filed his first preliminary patent application on October 18, 1937. However, it took him 15 years to establish the basic principles of electrophotography, and which was subsequently named xerography and commercialized by the Floyd Corporation. It was in 1944 that Carlson could finally strike a deal with Battle Corporation, a non-profit organization which was dedicated to sponsoring new inventions. Battle soon got the Floyd company to further develop the concept. Floyd named the process xerography and coined the name Xerox. They made their first sale of the Floyd Xerox copier in the year 1950. The company continued to improve the concept, producing the Xerox 914 in 1959. It was the first truly simple push-button plain paper copier, and was so successful that within the first 6 months, the sales had hit the roof. 17 years later, in 1961, Floyd changed its name to Xerox Corporation. Jack St. Clair Kilby was an American electrical engineer who took part, along with Robert Noyce of Fairchild, in the realization of the first integrated circuit while working at Texas Instruments in the year 1958. Kilby was also the co-inventor of the handheld calculator and the thermal printer, for which he had the patents. He also had patents for 7 other inventions. Jack Kilby invented the first pocket calculator. And it was nicknamed Pocketronic back then, along with the thermal printer. For decades after that, Jack Sinclair Kilby got the revolutionary idea that enhanced daily life for almost everybody on earth. People used to tell this inventor of the microchip that he deserved a Nobel Prize. As it happened, Jack Kilby did eventually win the Nobel Prize, but it was in December 2000, as the Royal Swedish Academy didn't award it until more than 40 years after his 1958 breakthrough, and after he had received almost every other honor and award an engineer could receive. He is believed to have said, "Scientists get theories, but the engineers make them work. And the engineer has the added challenge of cost. Because if your solution works and it costs too much, there will never be any application." Kilby expressed amazement at the various range of applications: calculators, computers, digital cameras, pacemakers, cell phones, space travel, and so on and so forth, that had developed around the tiny circuit on a chip that he had devised when he was the most junior engineer at Texas Instruments. Thomas Edison was probably the best known man in the world within 10 years of perfecting the light bulb. Henry Ford and his Tin Lizzie were recognized everywhere. Alexander Graham Bell was a household name long before most households had a telephone. But Jack Kilby and his co-inventor, Robert Noyce, two contemporary Americans whose invention is essential and ubiquitous, never received that kind of recognition. Neither did Chester Carlson. Neither could sell their ideas as smoothly as the con artists. Let us have a break room activity to find out, why does this happen? What led the con artists to be successful while these inventors struggled to bring out the practicality and profitability of their new ideas, creative concepts? We will have the break room activity for 20 minutes, after which we can discuss whatever you have come up with for the next 3 minutes for each room. Ms. Lakshmi, could you please?
Yes. Since there are about 21 participants, would 3 rooms be good or 4 rooms be good?
I think 4 rooms would be better.
4, all right.
Yes.
15 minutes, right?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay, done. So I'm opening the room for 20 minutes.
Thank you. So
The art of persuasion is pursuing people to join.
I'm happy to see that. Okay. Shall we start with understanding what you have discussed? So we will have a 3-minute presentation by you, by each room, to actually give the points that you have discussed and presented, so that whatever input you all have collected, we can all benefit from that. Yeah. Shall we start with room number 1?
Good evening, everybody. Myself, Jagdish Nonia from room number 1. We have a lot of discussion regarding this topic. And after a lot of deliberation, we could find out few points. Actually, the scientist, innovator, or the people who are engaged in creativity, innovation, focusing on their hard work, determination, and persistent effort, and taking to that is the reason they need so much of time to make any innovation or discovery. But in case of con artists, they are basically fraud. They don't have any ethics or values. They are master in manipulator, forgery, and their only goal is to make money within short period of time by befooling the people and the for doing the forgery of any process, or they are in good innovator in the bad sense, and they utilize their skill or their intellectual skill to fraud people, to befool the people to make money. That is the reason they only concentrate on the people, or their motive is to short-term gain. But in case of the creator and innovator, they are concentrating on their development or the innovation or the creation, and they have high value and ethics, and they honestly try to develop something. But here is this dishonest person always try to be full and make money. Thank you.
Thank you so much, room 1. That was a lot of discussion, and you've really come out with great inputs. Thank you. Moving on to room number 2. How was the exercise and what did you all discuss? Would somebody please
Which
share?
was our room? 3, huh? Who were the room number 2 people? Just can you?
Sapraji, we are 3.
Okay, we are 3. Okay.
Subraju, no.
And
I'm 3.
You are also in number 2.
Sorry.
Rajendra, you were also in room number 2, right?
Okay. No, that's what I forgot actually.
Yes,
that's why I was asking. So I will share in that case.
So we are 2.
Okay.
Anil sir, me and Suresh and
Yeah.
Subraju sir.
Yeah, just give me a second. I'm staring. Hello. Okay. So I think we were actually looking at those con artists or crooks basically. So they have, both of these inventors as well as crooks, they have their own set of intelligence actually tools. So the main thing is that the conviction and confidence which those con artists they have, and they know the opportunity, how to actually be opportunistic. They don't have any values as such, so they are actually free of their own will to actually find out the best opportunities, and they are very they have a lot of confidence and conviction about whatever they are doing. They take the risks in such a fashion that it becomes a low risk and high profit game. They anticipate the future moves, what if, and they know how to escape from any situation, and they are ready to face the consequences. They make decisions swiftly. They improvise and their strategies and do more frauds more better by having a learning mindset. They have effective use of language, which is like the persuasive language. They identify the weakness of the human mind, that is how to lure a person with the greed correctly. How to actually, once they cheat somebody, then how to actually blackmail them, make them more shameful rather than actually they being actually shameful about it. How to make the other person actually lose get into the fear of losing the social status once the fraud is revealed to the society. So that is what they do the best, and they are actually good listeners. They understand the personality of other people, communicate as per their need of the other person. They are good planners, are relationship builders, and click well with anyone, anytime. And they know how to bend the laws whenever there is a need. So as against that, the inventors could be again introverts. They may not have actually focus on the human psychology. They may lack the art of persuasion. They may possibly be poor communicators. Could have lesser social skills. May not have conviction about their invention, or actually how to convert that into the how to present it as a good business opportunity to the other to the investors or to the society. Many times they are ahead of the time, and it needs a different actually skill to even go to the business leaders and actually prove that your concept, even if it is novel, how important it will be for the future. It takes a lot of time. Some may have ego, that they may think that why should they convince somebody rather than somebody else should actually come and actually identify their invention and actually value it. There is a difference between intelligence versus the street smartness. That is what they miss, and that is needed for actually bringing your idea to the society. And lastly, about that, the art of, if the inventors do have the skills of persuasion, then they may be another actually Benjamin Franklin, Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, who identified the telephone and so on. So that is the best combination for everybody's benefit, that somebody having the best persuasion skills and having good power to invent new things. That's what we summarize.
So very well presented, Sapreji. Beautiful. Madam, only one more point. A contrast. The con men, no, they have nothing to lose in terms of their image. Whereas these scientists, their prestige is at stake. So that is one psychological aspect. Thank you, Sapreji. Well done.
I want to add one more point, as it is already mentioned. Crook knows, it is very low risk, and profit is very high.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
You see any corrupt man also, also they know the human psychology. If you tip somebody, so everybody, in society, penny wise, pound foolish. If you tip somebody 1,000 rupees, you can blackmail the society in millions of rupees. Nobody will speak. He will keep quiet, just to protect his own image. So this is that weakness they exploit from the society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Room 2. It was an exhaustive discussion. Thank you for your contribution. Now let's move on to room number 3, sorry.
Ma'am, I will present on behalf of room number 3. Yeah, sharing my screen. So initially, to understand the question itself, it took some time. So the so-called success is not a success actually, but we have been asked to find out the reasons for the success of the con artist. So that's how it has started. So then what we did, we have started deliberating each and every point. So the first point comes like this. If you take the con artist, they always go for a shortcut. Hook or crook, they want to have certain things. The inventors, the other way, long but systematic method. The way of persuasion, if you see that it is polite but shrewd with respect to the con artists. With respect to the inventors, basically they are a genius people. Mostly they are genius people. They might be impolite. It is not that they might be impolite, and they are almost straightforward because they don't care about anybody. Coming to the third point, what sort of time period they carry the success? It is only short term. It's a temporary success with respect to the con artist, but it is the other way with respect to the inventors. When it comes to the interpersonal skill, you can see the con artist will have a very commendable skill. You cannot go very close to that guy. But inventors is not so commendable compared to the con artist. What type of person he will be? Generally, the con artist will be extrovert. The other way, inventors will be introverts. So how they attract the people? They can even hypnotize or mesmerize and speak with conviction. With respect to the inventors, they don't add any value like hypnotism, mesmerism, all those things. They won't care at all. Just they see only their subject. So coming to the next point, how we manipulate. These guys are more of negative in nature. The other way, more positive with respect to the society. With respect to the appreciation as a matter, they are not appreciated and punished. Here we know they are appreciated and awarded to the maximum. In fact, you have also mentioned one particular example, like a Nobel Prize for Mr. Jack. So the role being perceived, basically con artists are antagonists and inventors are protagonists. Coming to the psychology part, appeals to the human greed. Like people are more prone to appeal to the greed. Appeals to the human potential, because the inventors are totally a different nature. It's not that it's not like the nature of con artists. Coming to the thinking style, creative. They are creative, but they are creative in a negative manner because they want something to happen. Here, real creativeness you can see from these guys. So I think with this we complete this particular thing. Thank you.
Mr. Bala, excellent. Bala, great presentation. I appreciate
Very
it.
good, very good, very good.
Maheshji, if something has been left out, please add.
No, everything is there. Everything is
It's
there.
okay, no?
Yeah, everything
Right,
is there.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. I will stop staring. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Roomtree.
Greed based, other is need based.
I feel all have done an excellent job at, really compiling the contrast that you all brought about between the two and compiled, even to go to the extent of giving the characteristics and on that base, how the two would be behaving and why they behaved in certain manners. You have really done a commendable job for that. Thank you so much for all your inputs. So, let me share my screen again and we go back. Thank you very much. You've all done an excellent job. So let's collate all of this together. And if I can put it in, a compact version of what you all have shared. Victor Lustig and Natwarlal used illusion to zero in on the greed of their victims. Though crime never pays and the victim is suffering, the criminal is ultimately caught. Conmen survive only because when it comes to the thought of making easy money, even the smartest and the most rational become susceptible to it. Sharing of their reality of making fast, easy money. And that is the reason why they were able to rope in like-minded individuals. They too shared their reality. And this is how they roped in like-minded individuals. The most important weapon in the con man's arsenal is another man's greed. This is what con men do, don't they? And if we actually think of what Sri Sri Yogananda Paramhansa stated in a journal of a journey to self-realization, he has said, unless you include the welfare of others in your prosperity, you will never be ideally prosperous. So if you're motivated by how your actions and plans can be beneficial to others, you will be able to devise the means to achieve your goals. And this is what has happened in the case of the inventors. It was more than 2000 years ago that Aristotle outlined a formula of how to become a master of persuasion in his work Rhetoric, which was a treatise on persuasion that approached the rhetoric as an art in the 4th century BC. Some people use rhetoric unintentionally and some use it purposefully. To make it possible to actually determine the reasons for success behind both of these, Aristotle has brought up this rhetoric as an art. To master the persuasion and successfully share your ideas, these are the 5 rhetoric devices that Aristotle identified, which will make a world of difference. So the first one he identified was ethos or character. The person's character speaks for itself, right? Aristotle believed that if a speaker's actions didn't back their words, they would be losing credibility and ultimately their cause would get weakened. We as humans are so hardwired to look for various reasons in which we can trust another person. We end up doing so very quickly. We are more likely, however, to trust people who have or who we perceive as having integrity, good morals, and goodwill. Our ancestors also use these same methods to determine whether a stranger was a friend or a foe. But with a simple reminder, when you are committed to the welfare of others, it builds up your credibility, and that is how you are able to lay your case with proper genuineness. We have seen how celebrity endorsements are at all times. They are effective in persuading people to do things, haven't we? Once we have addressed the character, ethos, it is time to make a logical appeal to reason. Logos is reason. Now, why would a listener care about your idea? If, for instance, it will save your listener from suffering or maybe from laboring efforts, then they will want to know how much effort it will save them and how the action will be accomplished. The same reasoning applies to making money. How will your idea be profitable to your listeners, and what steps do they have to take next? These are all the logical tools which appeals to help to gain support. So data, evidence, facts, all of these are used to form a rational, logical reasoning that is appealing to your listener. Then we have pathos or emotion. According to Aristotle, persuasion cannot occur in the absence of emotion. People are moved to action by how a speaker makes them feel. Aristotle believed the best way to transfer emotion from one person to another is through the rhetorical device of storytelling. More than 2000 years ago, more than 2000 years later, it is the cognitive science which have found that this thesis was accurate. Studies have shown that stories trigger a rush of neurochemicals in the brain, oxytocin, the moral molecule, which connects the people on a very deep emotional level. The more personal your story, the more your audience will feel connected to your idea. In fact, in an analysis which was done of 500 most popular TED Talks, it was found that most of the storytellers, the stories made up 65% of the average talk, whereas only 25 people went in for character building and only 10% for logic. So if you actually go to see, when you tell a personal story, it is more relatable. You can connect better when you tell stories of failure, awkward moments, misfortune, danger, disaster. When these all are told in an authentic manner, it brings about deep engagement. However, changing an audience's emotion on a false or misleading information is seen as manipulation rather than persuasion. Excuse me. The next one is brevity. Here it is also shown that Aristotle was way ahead of his time when he spoke about this. And he said that there are universal limits to the amount of information which any human being can absorb and retain. As Edith Hall writes in Aristotle's way, when it comes to persuasion, less is always more. So brevity is a very crucial element in making a persuasive speech. When you're laying out your case, it should be expressed as compactly and in as few words as possible. And Aristotle also observed that the opening of a person's speech is more important because attention slackens everywhere else rather than at the beginning. So we have to remember to start with your strongest point first. Aristotle believed that the metaphor gives language its verbal beauty. To be a master of metaphor is the greatest thing by far, he wrote. So he said, the greatest thing by far is to be a master of metaphor. It is one of the things that cannot be learned from others, and it is also a sign of genius, since a good metaphor implies an intuitive
Where?
of the similarity of the dissimilar. In other words, when you use a metaphor or an analogy to compare a new idea of something that is familiar to your audience, it clarifies your idea by turning that abstract concept into a concrete one. And the metaphor has the ability to turn all these words into images that will help others gain a very clear understanding of your ideas. And more important than anything else, to remember them and also to share them further. So it is a very powerful tool that can be useful for people now. One of the, just a minute. Just a minute. One of the savviest practitioners of persuasion is Warren Buffett, because he rarely gives an interview without using a metaphor to make his point. In fact, when you hear investors say that they look for companies surrounded by a moat, it is with reference to a popular metaphor that he has established, because he has repeatedly said that he looks for companies that are economic castles surrounded by moats that make it hard for competitors to enter the industry. Because persuasion is the art of sharing reality with the other to create something together, you have to be authentic. Because it is only when you are authentic, it shows in your behavior. One cannot become authentic. Either one is authentic or one isn't. Authenticity cannot be faked. So when you truly believe in something, it shows, and that leads you onwards to act upon it, which in turn leads others to adopt it as an idea of their own, isn't it? In a gentle way, you can shake the world. This is what Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, better known as Mahatma Gandhi or a great soul, said. Mahatma Gandhi persevered in his campaign of Satyagraha, passive resistance, through his non-violent cooperation. His movement for home rule, which paid off with India becoming free from the British colonial rule. His philosophy of non-violence has inspired civil rights leaders all across the globe. Mother Teresa, not all of us do great things, but we can do small things with great love. She has always said, it is not about how much you do it, but how much love you put into it that counts. A missionary who had devoted herself to working among the poorest of the poor in the slums of Calcutta started her own order, the Missionaries of Charity, whose primary task was to love and care for those persons who nobody was prepared to look after, the old and the destitute. She ran a shelter for them, for taking care of the lepers and the dying. It takes empathy, patience, and compassion to overcome anger, hatred, and resentment. Martin Luther King, a civil rights legend who led the movement to end segregation and counter prejudice unfair to African Americans in the US. Through the means of peaceful protest, he used various methods of peaceful protest to drive his cause. Most of his speeches are iconic of the 20th century and had a profound effect on the national consciousness. Forgiveness liberates the soul. It removes fear. That is why it is such a powerful weapon. Nelson Mandela was a South African anti-apartheid revolutionary who successfully led the resistance of South Africa's policy of apartheid in the 20th century. A political leader and a philanthropist, he served as the first president of South Africa, becoming the first Black head of state elected in a fully representative democratic election. All these people, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, shared their innate beliefs and values through their vision, which touched the people's hearts and minds, initiating within them a call to action. It was an entire generation that lapped it up, getting fired up with their idea, eager to make it their vision and mission to attain. Even in the present times, their ideas have immortalized them in our minds, isn't it? Did Gandhiji set out to be a Mahatma, the father of the nation? Did Mandela spend 27 years of imprisonment to become a president? Did Mother Teresa want to be a nun who became a saint? Did Martin Luther King intend to become one of the greatest heroes of America? Were they looking to achieve fame or greatness? Or was it simply a question of what they wanted to create? Thank you.
Excellent. Very good.
Thank
Well
you
done,
so
ma'am.
much, Nisrin ma'am. That was an amazing session. And I believe it is this was the art of beautifully persuading us with such insightful stories. It was, I think, a session which was packed with con artists, scientists, leaders, and freedom fighters. The compare and the contrast was, I mean, who would have thought this would have this can also happen? So my biggest takeaway is that if you want to practice the art of persuasion, you will have to remember is Aristotle's triple threats, or the three argumentiers of logos, pathos, and ethos. So that is my mantra to live by. And thank you so much for such a lovely session. And over to the audience for your feedback and questions, if any.
So I'll say it was a wonderful session and many touch points. Really, you won our hearts by sharing all these stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Nisrin, like last time, you've really won our hearts. Your introduction was, I was wondering what you're trying to get at. Then finally, you could bring the compare and contrast, which is one of the hallmarks of presentation. So if you think these con men really went in the right way, I think the world would have been better, because they have the skills, strategies, but their path was wrong. Otherwise, they would have been somewhere else. What's your answer to this, Nazri?
Absolutely, sir. Both, when I'm talking about persuasion, I'm talking about sharing your reality, sharing your vision. If you talk about the con artists, they have also shared their vision. But their shared vision led them to attract the similar kind of people who their reality reflected. So when they were looking for making easy and quick money, they attracted the same kind of people.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Full of, sorry, full of clarity, classic, wonderful, excellent, marvelous is not enough. Fabulous session. I came late, but I understood a lot of good things. So nice.
Thank you, sir.
Right, welcome.
Overall, I'm sure you must be pleased with your presentation. So are we, being a part of this session. Wonderful. I would just request Arunji if he's on the platform to share a few words.
It was a wonderful presentation as expected. Nisrin ji was all information, grace, poise, and articulate. Thank you, Nisrin ji, for a wonderful presentation. It was really mesmerizing and it was very engaging. A new perspective we could get. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for guiding me in the
Looking
right
forward
direction.
for many more good presentations from you.
Thank you, sir. Under your tutelage, I think it could be possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for spending this evening with us. And we see you tomorrow with just another even equally powerful session. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.